Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Benice show. This is Sarah, and welcome if this is your first time on the show. And obviously, if you've been here before, you'll know by now that each episode we bring on a guest and we discuss different issues concerning our day-to-day lives. We talk about things regarding spirituality, personal development, and anything in between. In today's episode, we have a lovely, lovely lady. She's a psychologist and counselor, a psychologist counselor, as we'll find out from her. And I'm so excited to have her on the show. Been meaning to do this for some time. Her name is Edith Gwokyalya, and I would like, first of all, to welcome her to the show. Hi, Edith. Welcome to the Benice show.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Such a pleasure to have you on the show, Edith. And I'm so looking forward to learning from you. And I hope maybe even one of our listeners will be able to pick up a thing or two from you. Obviously, I know you and we've talked about a few things before. And I thought, what better way to share that than on a podcast episode? Today's topic, we're going to talk about grief and loss, or loss and grief, and the process in between. But before we get to that, would you be so kind and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, just about yourself, so they get to know a bit about you.
Thank you, Sarah. Edith Gwokyalya is my name, and a trained psychologist, counseling psychologist. I do not specialize. I do counseling, general counseling, every issue, every situation that requires counseling. We do work together. It's a counseling relationship, so it doesn't discriminate. I've been practicing for over 15 years now, and I work both remotely and physically at the moment. I am a mother of 3 boys, and I am also passionate about seeing people thrive. Because sometimes when people have situations in their lives, they don't see better at the end of their tunnel. So I am passionate and mainly interested in seeing people thrive, seeing people get up, and seeing people get the best out of their lives. On top of counseling, I am really, really passionate about seeing that people see the better versions of themselves. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Brilliant. Brilliant. I'm so looking forward to this. So today we're going to talk about loss. And as we're getting ready for this, loss. Loss comes in different ways. And I believe that most of us, if not all of us, do experience loss at some point in our lives. And maybe sometimes we are passive about it, and sometimes we give it that attention. But just in a nutshell, what would you, from a professional point of view, what would you term as loss?
Well, loss is a feeling that we attach towards deprivation of value. So when we are deprived of something or someone that we value, we have lost them. We have lost it. We have lost them. We have lost. So the feeling that we attach towards that deprivation is what we call loss. It could be a person. It could be a thing. It could be a moment. It could be anything.
And do you reckon that we most of us will know that we're going through a loss process, like we've lost, or we just don't know, we just happen to go through life and not actually pick up on the fact that we've lost something, and we've lost?
What I have experienced and what I've seen, over my period of practice, I know that because we as humans want to be so much in control, We avoid the feeling or the reactions of loss. We don't want to feel that we have lost, whether it is losing people. We usually want to be oblivious to it. Like, we want to fight it. We want to be we don't want to feel like we've lost, or we don't want to admit that we've lost. And if it's, say, items or business or something that losing it means that we've lost control of it, we would rather not admit and show face and put up a strong defense. And yet, usually when we just accept things as they are and just flow with the tide, it's easier to deal with the different valuable things or people that we lose. So it's a human thing to avoid to deal or accept
loss. Would you say it's the same thing with relationships, like love relationships, where someone maybe things don't work out between the other party, and someone doesn't accept the fact that they've lost, or they don't want to acknowledge that they've lost someone, not in the sense of passing on, but is it a control thing that they would have lost over that person, you reckon?
Yes. We because we want things to work out. It's a human thing to win. We have a competitive something at the back of our mind. So if we don't have it, then we've lost it, and it's a weak thing to lose. So we'd rather not accept. And when we don't accept, then we can't deal. And when you talk about relationships, it's interesting that usually when I'm talking to people who have things not worked out, I would say treat it as grieve over it. Because if you grieve over it, then you will go through it and rise above it. But if loss comes and you don't accept it, then you can't do anything about it, and it keeps you in the same place of pain. Yes.
And you just talked about grief, and I was going to ask you, why is it important after loss? Like, some people seem to get over things as soon as they've happened, and others seem to dwell or grief over something over a period of time. Why is it important? Is it important, first of all, after loss? And if so, why is it important, the grief process?
Well, first, grief is a reaction to loss. Grief is an emotion. It's a reaction that we attach to the value that we lose. Why it appears that some people have worked through it quickly and have moved on, sometimes it is that people see loss coming ahead of time, and they silently prepare themselves for it. Right. So when it is made manifest, we think that they have moved on quickly. That's one thing. Sometimes people deal with it before it actually is recognized. Secondly, some people pretend about it because we want to look like we've got it all together. So we pretend that all is okay, we're good, we're fine. So then it turns out that we'll put up a strong defense, like we'll look like we've got it all together, but inside we know exactly what's going on. It's usually what others see that they give a name to, but the person who's experiencing these things actually knows what they're going through. That's why I usually insist that to thyself alone be true. To thyself alone be honest, because when you're honest with yourself, then you can handle, or you can manage through whatever challenges or whatever triumphs you have. You just have to be honest with yourself. Yes.
You know what? This makes a lot of sense, because when you say that some people prepare for that loss and they sort of start grieving before. I've seen instances, say, for example, someone will have a loved one who is going through maybe a long illness of years and years. And sometimes they'll say that they would have grieved that person, the loss of that person, during that period of time they were not feeling well, and to a point that by the time they transition, they have already dealt with that. And I've always wondered why some people react differently when someone passes on, whilst others seem to why people react differently. Some seem to have it together and others seem to be all over the place. And again, that brings me to the next question, which is, or one of the things that has been I've been thinking about, looking at people who have gone through loss and grief, like in the recent past, people I know, people I love, and some of them seem to react immediately. And yet again, I've seen some people who seemed okay during that time, but then they months down the road, they seem to suddenly go through some sort of grief. Is that normal? Is it because they're denying the process as it happens, or are they in shock? What brings that delayed reaction?
3 ways. One, like you said earlier, when someone, for example, when someone is nursing a person who has a condition that is terminal, it's usually that they will prepare. They will be prepared, they'll have information. Some people do well with preparing themselves for the loss. Others actually don't, because we keep hoping that there'll be a miracle, there'll be something. So because we keep hoping for better, it's rare that we will accept the truth when the truth is dawned on us.
Right.
Secondly, there is the shock of actual loss. And shock is something that we all take differently. Some people, when they're shocked, they pass out. And everybody will see that they're shocked, they pass out, they're taken, and then they're attended to, or they cry, they will exhibit all those forms that you'll see that, oh my God, something is happening. Some others, when they are shocked, they are numb. So they seem like they are not attentive, they seem like nothing is happening, but it's because they are shocked that we can't see beyond their calm presentation.
Right.
And because for us, what we see is what we define. We sometimes have the wrong definitions of situations because we are not those persons. But ultimately, loss is a thing that affects us and changes us, and it is personal. And the person who is going through it must experience it individually,
right,
to be able to thrive through it.
Would you say that when you talked about different reactions after someone has gone through the loss process or loss and grief, would you say that it's possible for someone to manifest, for other things to manifest, things such as side effects or effects of the lack of grief? And the reason I'm bringing this up is, as we were talking, I was thinking of a few people, a few instances, and one of them obviously is myself, whereby and this is a bit personal, but when my mom died, just before she died, she passed on, I went through a preparation process. We all knew, we sort of knew months before or weeks before. And when it happened, personally, I seemed okay. But then probably a year down the road, I developed all sorts of things. And then I just wondered, is that common for things to manifest after some time? And would one be able to tie that back to the loss they had before previously? Say, for example, if somebody woke up 8 months, 10 months down the road after the loss, are there some signs they can look back at and go like, okay, this is probably a side effect of the loss I had and never grieved? Am I making sense though?
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are making sense. The thing
Okay.
is, I continue to say that it's personal. Grief is personal. Loss is personal, and there is no script to experiencing it.
Right.
I have I have counseled.
Mm-hmm.
I have practiced.
Mm-hmm.
The way I used to attend to people who go through loss
Mm-hmm.
is different now that I experienced my very own,
Right.
because everybody has their own reactions. And please note that there is no script, so you don't know exactly how you're going to feel or
Mm.
react.
Mm.
So I encourage people usually to take a day as it comes, like do not overly prepare yourself and give yourself timelines, because then you'll be shocked at what happens to you later on in life. There is not a time that you say I'm completely through with this thing,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
Because when people lose things or people,
Mm-hmm.
that loss does not go away. It just changes the way it manifests. So today I may be fine. Next month I may be very, very, unwell.
Mm.
You know what that means. Like I thought I'd worked through this emotion. I thought I'd worked through the other emotion, and then before I know it, it becomes a different thing.
Yeah.
So it's a continuous process. We grow with it, we live with it, we eat with it, we sleep with it. Like it just keeps going. It changes containers, but it's the same thing.
Same thing.
We just have to be attentive,
Mm.
okay? And
Mm.
then because when you are attentive, then you can name your emotions. Instead
Right.
of saying I think I'm stressed, you say I feel exhausted. Instead of
Mm.
saying I am depressed, you say I feel sad. I feel so weary, you know, because then you can articulate that particular emotions. But there is no script, there is no timeline. It happens anytime because we are individually different, and loss is loss. Like it's not like going through school and you're going to do exams and finish and graduate and move on. No, it's not.
And when you talk about the different emotions that happen, that can manifest here and there, um,
Yeah.
would, if somebody is able to pick them up and go like, okay, this is happened because I'm sad because, or whatever, does that boil down to the point, to the fact that they actually accepted the loss? Because I'm thinking, if somebody didn't accept that, if they didn't actually acknowledge and accepted it, are they going to be able to, they're not going to be able to name the emotion. And you talked about you've experienced loss in the recent past, which I would like us to talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit. What kind of loss you experienced, and how you have managed to use that experience in conjunction with your, that personal experience in conjunction with your professional experience, and what have you changed how you approach that topic completely, or what experience has that brought to um your tools, because I feel like you have more tools today.
Well, thank you. Firstly, I on the 20th of June, 2021, Sunday morning, Father's Day,
Mm.
I lost the love of my life to COVID. Because I have a strong will, and I also believe and hope. Usually, whenever I was faced with the situations that seemed so scary, I always had the feeling that something different would manifest. So I never ever thought or saw any type of way in his illness that he was badly sick or something. Like for me, it never manifested in my head. I nursed him in the ICU for 2 weeks, close to 2 weeks. And I saw progress and I reported progress. And I mean, if I wasn't with him, it would have taken me a long time to even accept that he died. So I never ever expected negative. So when 20th of June, when he passed, I was in shock because he expired in my presence. And I was in shock mainly because I was seeing different developments and I had spoken with him and had experienced him alive. Like I knew that it was just a few days that he would be off the vent and would go into, the recovery and then, go home. I knew that it would take a while to completely recover, but I didn't think that he would pass. Now, before that, during the depth of the pandemic, I was doing counseling, as in grief counseling. I was reaching out. I was busy with different people who are going through, who were sick, who were scared. There was a lot of stigma and fear for death about COVID. That my job was mainly to, encourage people to be supportive, to give it a positive energy, to hope for better. When mine actually passed, please note, I loved my husband so very much. So when he passed, I was stripped. I felt like a part of me had gone with him. And because I was at a loss of words, when you lose, say, a parent and you are a second or third born or fifth born, there is someone else to take care of business. So it's usually that, oh my God, I've lost you. You have the liberty to fall down and cry and, be out of order.
Yeah.
When I experienced the actual loss, I was like, okay, I have lost him, but I have children. I have lost him. It means that I'm everything now. I have lost him, so I can't tell him that I have lost him. You get what I mean? Yeah. So I felt so alone. And that shock went through me and it did not treat me very well. But I was just numb. It's not that I was numb. I knew what I didn't feel like saying anything. So I let it by. And because I was so shocked, it became a physical reaction for me. It turned into pain. And that pain got mixed with other pains that I was experiencing, that I became hospitalized. Like it arose other conditions in me.
Right.
I also got tremors in my body that I started shaking all the time. But I was too shocked. Now, people thought that I am strong. People still say that I'm strong. But I will say, now I will confess that I was shocked. And for the longest time, I was shocked that I did not know what to do. I think the hardest part for me was having to break the news to my children. Because we left home on a Sunday morning. Daddy was not feeling too well, so he walked to the car with me to go to see a doctor. So the kids expected us back home.
Right.
Then later that in the day, I came home without him and told them Dad is still at the hospital. The doctors are looking after him. I came to pick a few things that we might need. They were worried because where we live is a homestead. So there was this whole stigma about COVID and families had become too scared to even let their children out of their households. And my kids are too social that they were too used to interacting with other children. It was difficult to manage COVID with children. So we got to that time where everybody feared to even come close to anyone. And now that my family had COVID,
Yeah.
so they were locked out. Like there was no access, and that was so painful for me because the parents are not at home, but the children are worried because for them COVID meant death. Now, so we got to the hospital, and I only spoke with them. I never returned home until Sam passed away. But I would talk to them, and my second born would say, "Mommy, I'm so worried. We're so worried." And I said, "No, don't worry that much. We have been praying and continue to pray." But I think I did not speak it in a convincing way. So when I came home, because when he passed, I needed to break the news personally to them. That was the hardest part of my journey.
Right.
So I get home and call them to the bedroom because everything was changed that Sunday morning. They're the only ones who hadn't gotten it, but everyone knew about it. So I called them into the bedroom and told them. It was the hardest thing. It still breaks my heart, the reactions that I got. So, yeah, we went through the events and it's been tough. There's been hard days. There's been manageable days. So, because the shock went through me, I had a condition, I had surgery. There were moments when I had to tell myself that I needed to be parent, both mommy and daddy to my sons. But now it was harder to do the daddy things because I didn't know. I mean, I never prepared to be a father. I only knew how to be a mother. So it became hard to, and I have boys. So it became hard parenting. I also got worried about parenting. I nobody ever prepares for single parenting. And it's not a cup of tea. And when you're in there, it's tough to make certain decisions on your own if you're not used to that. So I honestly say a couple of times I wanted to run back to my parents. A couple of times I wanted to run away from being what I am and having to do what I have to do, but I never got a chance to do it. So that's when I allowed that I don't have to manage anything. That's when I accepted that I don't have to be in control. And oftentimes when I was alone, I allowed myself to break down. And I would look for people to speak to about how I felt. But because it was mainly lockdown time, I didn't have much access to people. And I'm a person who appreciates physical contact. So I God help me, I accessed a person who is not even a counselor, but this person helped me a lot in the initial stages of my grief, and also it was a lot bearable because I have a spiritual background. So in my moments of wonder, I knew that I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to understand anything, but it's tough. It is very tough, but it's doable. I think when you lose someone, when you least expect it, it's tougher because you have been hoping different. It's harder to come through because you never prepared for this. You never prepare. Financially, you don't prepare. You don't have, we all know the right thing to do. We all know that we should prepare, have wills, write our wills and, all that thing. But we don't practically prepare for our early termination of life. So when my husband passed, I was like, okay, So you mean also this happened? Even this, even the other. Oh, so you mean these people were not my friends all this time? Oh, you mean, that kind of thing where people come in and go out, and 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 you identify yourself with reality. So reality hits home, and sometimes it doesn't hit too well. But I am happy that I know what I know, because if I didn't know what I know, I probably would have been different. But because I know what I know and I keep learning, I knew that however ugly or however low I felt, or whichever way it looked, I had to go through that day. So there were moments when I'd ask God to give me strength for every minute. There were moments when I would just say, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know what the children are going to feed on. But Lord, I know that you are there. And somehow the day would start and end, and I did not die. When I was going to theater, I feared that I was going to die, because I was at the lowest point of my life. This was just a month after he had passed. So I was at the lowest point in my life. And while I knew that I had to do the surgery, and this surgery was a big one, I also knew that God would not make the mistake of taking me and leaving my boys without a parent. Although I knew that I wasn't special. I mean, there are people who have lost both. But I hoped that it would turn out differently in my spirit. But humanly, I didn't expect to come out of theater. So it was tough. It's been tough. 1 year down the road, I still go back to the freshness of emotions. But I'm glad that I'm not where I was in June or July 2021. So I feel like I lost a part of me. I also feel that I now have a better understanding of it, and I would give better support. And I also know not to take for granted the things that I have and the things that are given to me free. I also learned not to just to hold on too hard, because life is an everyday thing. If I don't have today, I can't have tomorrow. And if I stay in yesterday, then I can't move. So there's been lessons, but the pain only changes the way it looks. But it doesn't easily go away. And the people that we lose, that we love so much, we learn to live without them, but they don't go away. If I go further than that, I will cry.
I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of the journey you've walked so far. And of course, we've interacted a few times before this. I've seen the growth. I've seen my take from this was you seemed numb and initially, and you didn't seem to actually understand the magnitude of this. Are you okay to carry on?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good.
Good. And that was my understanding, and I know what people meant by saying that you are strong. But sometimes I feel like when we dismiss people's emotions by packaging them as strong, we actually when we say that people are strong, we sort of dismiss their pain, their grief, and in a way it can affect them differently. It can affect them internally, and they might feel like, well, what's the point of talking about this if people already think I'm strong? You talked about living moment by moment, and I feel like probably that's probably the best way to live in the moment. Like the day would come and you go like, okay, today I'm going to live today, and to the best of my knowledge or ability rather. And then the evening you're like, today I didn't die, today I'm still here. And then you go to sleep and the following day. So I feel like this is a big nugget, a big takeaway for anyone listening, anyone struggling, to realize that, okay, you don't have to live the whole chunk of your life in one day. You don't have to figure out everything in one day. You have to realize that you are going through a process, and acknowledge that and embrace that and take this in small steps, day after day, moment even after moment, and probably build onto that. And I've seen Edith go through this, and I've seen a few people go through grief and serious loss. And personally, from my personal observation, I've seen those who have managed it, not even managed, but those who seem to be doing great with this in this process are those who actually allow themselves to go through this in small chunks. You talked about reaction, the value we give. This was at the very beginning. You talked about the value we give that which we would have lost determines our reaction. And then you talked about your personal reaction, which was numbness. And that actually goes to show how much you valued the person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So and I'm coming back to your personal experience again. Sorry, I'm going like in circles, but I'm coming back to and I hope anyone listening is following. This is how I process things in my head sometimes. But bear with me. When you come back to your personal experience, I like this favorite line of words don't teach, experiences do. And I wanted to ask you, do you feel like that experience, hard as it was, difficult as it still is, do you feel like it has taught you so much that you can actually pass on to other people on top of what you already knew? Am I right that you are more qualified to?
Yes. So when as soon as Sam expired, I walked out of the room and asked God, what do you want me to do with this? And moments later, I got the message that I would serve from a point of experience. I would serve him from a point of experience. So it meant that when I go out to support people who are going through different situations in their lives, I would know better.
Yeah.
And I would not just approach my service from the perspective of I have trained, but I would approach my service from the perspective that I have experienced this.
And I'm still experiencing.
Exactly. And I know that I'm still growing.
Right.
So while I serve, I will know that I don't know it all, that everybody's experience teaches me something, and it's for edification.
Right.
That's my biggest. The second thing is that I learned to appreciate God and his sovereignty in my loss. I learned that hard as it is, all life and death stems from him. When he says it shall be, it is. So while I said, God, I loved my husband, I also understood that he loved him. So while we love the things that we love, we should know that we can't keep them if they have to go.
Right.
So I appreciated the sovereignty of God, and that I speak from a depth of knowledge. I also learned that being present helps a lot with dealing with loss. So however painful it has been, I told myself, stay present, stay present. There's been pain, there's been words, there's been experiences, there's been you know, you come close to things and you're like, and you tell yourself, if I don't think about it, the emotion of anger will not cross my mind. The more I think about it, it changes its face, and I give it a reaction depending on emotions.
Right.
But when I stay present, it means that I want to get this out of it. So if I stay present, I don't dwell on things. I fail sometimes, but presence makes me appreciate life better. And it has helped me with my loss a lot. That the past has gone. I can't control it. The future is not guaranteed. If the future was guaranteed, Sam would be present, would be alive. But the future is not guaranteed. So he died. And right now, today, he's not dying. He died last time. So today, I have children to take care of. I have myself to take care of. And I have to keep going.
Right.
If I stay in the yesterday, it means that I won't progress. And if I don't embrace today, it means my tomorrow will not be certain. So I used to today and hope for better tomorrow. So staying present has enabled me to thrive. And I speak it from a point of experience, not from a point of that I've read or heard. No, that I've experienced it. Then the greatest thing that my loss has brought me is the birth of changing times. So from my loss came a whole project of changing times.
Right.
It is service to the world, and it comes from a point of experience and yielding to the calling. If you asked me today how I feel, I would say I hope to be better. That's all.
Brilliant. When you talk about emotions, when you talk about grief, when you talk about obviously you did mention the different emotions that surface every day. And we all know that women tend to process emotions or to actually be more open about what they're facing, what they're going through, much more than men, because we come from a society of men have to behave a certain way. They're not supposed to cry. They're not supposed to do anything that makes them seem weaker than the female species. Now, from your experience, and I know you do work with men as well as women, do you think that this should change, or do you find that men struggle to show their emotions? And what advice would you give them today? Like, if somebody, because obviously men are going to face loss as well as women, what advice would you give them today? Because ultimately we know they're not different, they just seem different.
Yeah. I've worked with men, and it's usually concerning to me when it comes to loss or grief that not every woman actually can express their emotions. So I think expression of emotion is individual. Like everybody does it differently. There are men who are very expressive that they don't even have to say you see. But society has not enabled men to be expressive, because when they try to express themselves, we usually articulate their vulnerability more than we would applaud them for speaking out. And that's like a society thing, which I hate so much. I will tell you my children, because that's what I'm exposed to. My kids, with their father, he used to say, men don't do this, men don't. You're a man, don't cry, don't do this, don't do that. And I would tell him, but dude, when we are here together, you cry. So why don't you let the children cry if they want to cry? Or, let them express themselves. So when he died, they ran back to the fact that the father used to tell them, men don't cry. So when I broke the news to them, my firstborn cried immediately because for him, he knew the expression of the emotion he felt. The younger ones, because they didn't see me cry, I was speaking straight. So they started to ask for permission to cry. Said, Mommy, should we cry? Is it okay to cry? And for some time, I felt like I didn't even handle that well, but I didn't have the tools that day to handle that. But I was like, children as young as their age, that was 8, no, actually, yeah, it was 7 and 4. They, that was 8 and 4. They did not think it right to act or to react a certain way because the father had taught them a certain expression. I believe that there are many men who grow up thinking that they should be brave about certain things. Who says that everybody fears? When we, it doesn't mean that we don't have hope. No, we have it, but we are human enough to fear. So it's tough for men because there's not many men who stand out and enable men to react humanly. Who said that the men are the source of security? So who secures them? You know, you ask yourself, like, okay, you're supposed to protect the family. Yes, you can, you should, but I mean, you also need someone to protect you. You need a safe ground to operate. Now, I've also seen men who have lost their spouses and they're expected to have it all together. They're the ones to ensure that there are funds for the funeral and make sure that children this, that, and the other. So they don't have a chance to actually grieve or to express themselves because everything sits on their shoulders. And it's sad. Now, we also go back to the way we are socialized. For me, I think those first days were easier because I've invested well in friendships. So as when Sam passed, I called my friends, 2 of them, 3 of them, and they ran the show very well. I didn't have to worry about anything, not even my children. Of course, my family was always there, but some people don't invest well in friendships. Even men, you find that there are men who lose a partner and fellow men will jump in and things will, be under control. There are those who lose and they are the ones who are the center of the show. Okay? They have certain expectations of themselves. I don't even know who wrote that script for them. But it's wrong because we are human and we are allowed to be vulnerable when we have to. So it's unfortunate that, people have socialized themselves that way. It comes with the need to be, a superstar, but there are no prizes for being superstars. There are no prizes. Nobody has won at grief. We all struggle through it. Like there's no prize for it. So you can't say that, oh, I came out well, I came out better, I came out best. No, we thrive. That's the best we can do, thrive through it. Now, also, I have seen women have been so intentional about support. They have groups that support them. We talk to friends. There are many times when I've called my friends and said, I don't think I can even get out of bed. I feel so sad. I feel this and this. So there are people that articulate my feelings too. Many people don't know how they feel because they have not socialized themselves to understanding themselves and how they feel. And if you don't know, you can't say, you can't articulate it. You simply just generalize it. It's a bad thing because if you generalize and people won't know how to support you, say, how are you feeling today? And you say, I'm there. What does that mean? I'm there. what is fair. So if you can't articulate it, then you can't get the right support. So men have not, they haven't worked through the situation where they need to support each other or they need to seek support. And they only go out to get support when they have like really reached the end of the road, that they've taken on behavior that is maladaptive, and now they are going to rehab, or they are forced to seek help, or they're fired from work. Those kind of extreme things that can be controlled.
Yeah.
It's to situations, we can't prevent them. There are emotions that are birthed from loss, and loss, not loss of people or but loss of value. There are people who are already damaged by the time they experience loss. So there is a problem that is addressing a bigger problem. Now, if we don't work through our situations individually and cramp them all together, we don't get the right kind of support. And it's mainly that men will not deal with things, so they keep piling. And they want this pain to go away so fast.
So they
would rather, exactly, they want normal to come so quickly that I would rather, okay, so my wife used to do this and that, so what do? I get the nearest girlfriend, or I need to get into a relationship quickly, that this should numb the pain. Then down the road, you realize that actually this is not working. But this is not working. It already has birthed a child. It has birthed a marriage. So there is a problem on top of a problem, and the only person who is suffering from this is you as a man. So we need to improve these things. Then these emotions that are not dealt with, we usually transmit them. Okay? So if it's not attended, becomes something else. If it's pain that's not attended, it becomes anger. And anger is transmitted in a different way. And all of this affects the individual. When we say hurt people hurt others, when we hurt others, we hurt ourselves twice as much. So it's everything that we haven't attended to will come back and bite us a certain way. What I encourage men to do is to look out for support. Be true, first of all. Articulate how you feel, accept that you can't get all this under your control, and yield to support. If I did not yield to support, I would have run mad. Because there are a lot of times when I have had to be a man about my situation. When you wake up and everything is in your face, every bill is in your face, everything is in your face, and you have got yourself. That's being both man and woman at the same time. I am still thriving through it. I haven't really gotten there, but I'm still thriving through it. Why? Because I have acknowledged. And I know that some things I want to do. I know that some things I don't have to worry about. But, it's not a script that we look at and we work through. It is something that we have to adapt. It's handed to us, and we have to run with it and make the best of it. So encouragement to first get a good understanding of self and look out for support, articulate the feelings, and know that there are no prizes. There is no prize for the best man, best dad, best this. There is no prize. There is nobody who has won a prize, who has been the best at it. No, we all struggle, we all thrive, and at the end of the day, we go with nothing. Whether you have the best funeral speech, you have gone. Yes.
Edith, changing times. Someone listening right now might want to maybe touch base with you somehow, and or maybe to find out more about changing times. Where can they find changing times, and how can someone contact you, get in touch with you if they probably wanted to seek help?
Well, thank you. Changing times, like I said, was birthed by the loss that I experienced. So I have a YouTube channel, Changing Times with Edith Gwokyalya. If you went to YouTube, you could just, you will find me there. And on that page, you'll find all my contacts. I can be reached on email, and I can be reached. One can just inbox me, and also my phone contacts are there. So when you go to Changing Times with Edith Gwokyalya on YouTube, just subscribe and like the page, subscribe, and then you watch the videos on loss. There is my experience of loss. So it's about 18 videos so far. We keep growing. So when you get to the page, you'll see all my details are there. I am on YouTube. Of course, I'm on Facebook, Edith Gwokyalya. There is Changing Times on Facebook as well. There is the group and there's a page. So just look it up and like, subscribe. Instagram is Edith Gwokyalya, and then Changing Times _now. But mainly the videos are mainly on YouTube because it's where I have shared already. So I just, interact differently. And when you want to have personal contact, you cannot have physical contact unless you are in Canada. But you can have the virtual contact with me. When you seek out, you will get the support that you need.
Brilliant. What I've learned from this is 3 things, and I put them down, and I'm going to probably stick them somewhere. 1, acknowledge that you're going through something, and the second one is to respect the process.
Yeah.
And take it day by day. And the third is to seek help. And in any whichever way, whether it's community, whether it's friends, whether it's one friend, whether it's a partner or someone, like to seek help, not to keep everything to yourself, but you have to go out of yourself and find leverage from other people's strengths and knowledge that they might have. Edith, what words, closing remarks would you like to leave us today?
Well, I would say that we all have experiences. We all experience changes in our lives. So we all have changing times. It's just the difference in description, but our lives evolve. So what I encourage us to do is move with the tide. Accept that thriving through your life situations is all you've got to do. There are no prizes for the best person, but we have the choice to be the best person to ourselves. It's a gift that we give to ourselves. And choose yourself before you choose others. You can't give the love that you don't have. So give it to yourself first, and it will run over and flow onto the others. I encourage us to live in the present, because the present is all that we've got. Stay present and life will be a lot more bearable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edith. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show, and I look forward to having you back some point. I was thinking of talking about parenting and parenting as a single parent, as a single mom, stepping into the gap, and a few other things, obviously, in the area of counseling and psychology in different areas of our lives as we grow and thrive. And on that note, I would like to wish everyone a happy day, evening, afternoon, wherever you might be. And please do follow Edith. She puts out really, really good content, and I'm pretty sure she will keep growing, and can't wait to see what she'll share with us in the coming days, weeks, and months. I remain Sarah, and I look forward to having you on the next show. Thank you so much, and be nice.